Episode 7 of the 3rd season of The Traitors came on last night, and man, this was my favorite episode of the whole season. Oh my gosh, I loved it. So let's do a little recap. Episode starts out with the 3 traitors in the turret. They're talking. Basically, Rob convinces Danielle to give up Derek to kind of smooth things over, regain some trust between him and Carolyn. So Danielle agrees to let them take out Derek, even though that's one of her closest allies. She's feeling kind of bullied by Boston Rob, obviously, and she is kind of desperate to get back in the good graces of Carolyn and Rob because obviously she broke a lot of trust there. So she does it, and in the morning at breakfast, the waterworks are coming. Like, I know that's genuine emotion coming from Danielle because I know she did not want to do that. I guess it kind of looks suspicious, obviously, her crying that hard. But I really feel for Danielle. I really love Derek, and I feel really bad for Danielle that he's gone. I did like how that gave her the opportunity to get closer to Brittany this episode, and I think that really worked out in her favor. I don't hate Boston Rob, but I don't particularly enjoy him that much, and I don't think he's that great of a game player in this particular game because, yet again, another person was, murdered in the middle of the night that directly, publicly came out against him. And his only excuse is, oh, someone must be framing me. But by the 3rd time that this has happened, that excuse is kind of not good enough, in my opinion. Because, I'm sorry, normally when the traitors go up and they're trying to figure out who to murder, they're picking out people where it makes sense to pin it on someone else. Yeah, like totally. But they don't normally just completely pin every single one on one person, or else it starts to look a little suspicious. So I think at this point, obviously there's a ton of suspicion, around Rob. So, and I think the MVP of this episode is our boy Tom Sandoval. Like, I was surprised, as probably everyone was. Tom did a very good job this episode. I will give him that. He did a lot of good things in this episode. Like, obviously, there's so much evidence against Rob. He was trying to convince Dylan and everyone else, like, hey, I think enough is enough. Even if he isn't a traitor, we need to make that move and banish him at the round table because there's just so much evidence against him. And like, poor little Dylan, he's just like, with Rob to the end. I anticipate, like, if Rob didn't get banished, he was going to take out Tom Sandoval. And again, another night of him being like, well, someone's trying to frame me. And I'm like, when will Dylan kind of get wise to the fact that Rob is a traitor? I don't know. But thankfully, stuff happens this episode. So Alan gets everyone together, tells everyone to dress in their finest, and says they're going to a wedding as their next challenge. And they have to team up with one other person. So we got Gabby and Carolyn, we got Rob and Sierra, we got Tom and Dylan, Brittany and Danielle, Ivar and Sam, and then Michelle and Dolores. Lala is looking lovely as ever. I love Tom Sandoval and his little hat. I don't know. He's starting to grow on me, which I know is bad because I know he's not a good person, but he did such a good job in this episode. I love these 2 ladies. Just an appreciation post real quick for Gabby and Carolyn. And it makes my heart happy that Danielle and Brittany are starting to really form a bond. I really love watching their friendship kind of blossom this episode. I think they're starting to lean on each other, and I think that's going to work to both of their advantages. So the challenge was, you stick your hands in this box, you have to hold on to each other's hands for 8 minutes or something. If you do not hold on to each other's hand as they're pointing bugs and various other creatures in that box and on top of you, then you are eligible to be murdered. And also, if both teams hold on to each other's hand, then there's a sudden death. I thought Boston Rob was very nice in this episode. I think he did a great job with Sierra. She was very uncomfortable this whole time, obviously, and he just kept talking to her and calming her. I thought that was very nice. You could tell he's kind of like a girl dad. Like, I think he did a good job in this episode calming her and keeping her on track, because I think without that encouragement, she might have let go of his hand. Because, yeah, that was a lot. Because this is what they had to deal with. And that was only the beginning. Of course, they poured a bunch of nasty bugs and stuff on top of their heads. I think Sam and Ivar, were totally comfortable. He was so chill, and Ivar was like, all in a day. So, yeah, they were doing well. I think Alan was deriving too much joy from this challenge myself. He was having fun. And Tom, he held in there, but man, he was so uncomfortable. And an appreciation post for his hat. It really just held on to all those bugs. They were just hanging out with him. The only people to let go of each other's hands was Chriselle and Dolores, unfortunately. So they immediately were up for murder. But, I mean, lucky for them, they didn't even get touched by a single bug. So, I mean, if you're going to let go of someone's hand, do it at the very beginning, I guess. Also, an appreciation post for Gabby and her goggles. She was a pro. She hung in there. Also, appreciation post for Carolyn and her many facial expressions. I love her so much. The people that are up for murder lost out on the kind of tiebreaker. So we got Tom Sandoval, we got Dylan. The other people that are up for murder are obviously Chriselle, Dolores, and Carolyn and Gabby. At the beginning of the episode, Rob is kind of filled in by Dylan that when Derek left that evening before he got murdered, he let him know, hey, obviously if I die, Rob is the main suspect, but also Brittany is a little suspicious. And so Dylan told Rob that and was like, don't worry, I'm not going to say your name. Just maybe Brittany's a traitor. And so Rob took that and he started going around to everyone after the challenge, giving Brittany's name. Poor Brittany got the sense like something was going down because like literally everyone was being quiet around her and they just stopped talking about who they think, who they were suspicious of. So she knew going into the round table, Boston Rob was probably going to throw her under the bus. So at the round table, Dylan kind of begins the conversation, letting people know what happened, what he heard from Derek, giving both Rob and Brittany's name. Like the suspicions that Derek had was, when Dylan was kind of struggling on who to vote for the previous round table, Brittany looked at him and said, don't, because she was trying to let him know, like, go with your gut and, don't vote for Rob. And so Brittany explained that, like, I wasn't trying to do anything weird. I was just letting you know to go with your gut. And one thing I don't understand, it's like if you're suspicious of Brittany for being like, don't vote for Rob, it would make sense that Rob is a traitor and maybe Brittany's also a traitor working with him. So I'm like, I don't understand why they didn't suspect Rob of being a traitor, because by that logic, I feel like the only way Brittany would be a traitor in that scenario is if she was helping Rob, who she also knew was a traitor. You know what I'm saying? But Tom Sandoval really kept people going in the right direction. He did that to let people know, like, hey, Rob is dangerous. Why aren't we looking at him? There's so much evidence against him. Why are you doubting that Rob might be a traitor? So Tom starts kind of getting through to some people that seem a little bit more hesitant, but there are still some like major Rob supporters that don't seem to be willing to budge ever. And that includes Dylan, Sierra, Dolores. Like they all trust Rob and are like, I don't see it. We're voting at the round table. I'm so confused by some of the people's votes. Like, Dylan, why are you voting for Gabby a second week in a row? Why? I don't know. Maybe we didn't see his argument against Gabby, but I'm like, leave Gabby alone. And then, of course, Chriselle voted for Tom. Dolores voted for Tom. And yeah, like, I get it, but I don't know. But eventually, there were enough votes to get Rob out. I was so excited. I've just been waiting for this. I was so excited for Danielle and Carolyn. They went out on a limb and they voted for him and it worked. They got him out. So I'm excited for Danielle and Carolyn to continue going on. They're told basically the people that are up for murder in the evening, they are going to meet the traitors face to face to get the news firsthand. And so we see Danielle and Carolyn get together. Obviously Danielle's like, yeah, we're working together, right? And Carolyn is still extremely suspicious of Danielle, which I totally get. We see like a very dramatic scene of each person walking down the aisle at the church towards a casket, and it's like they're looking sharp and the traitors are about to come up behind them. And then, of course, we gotta wait till next week to see who gets got. But, like, man, I love this episode. It was very dramatic. I feel like it was a major win for some people in this house. I'm really looking forward to seeing what happens next. I'm really curious to see what's going to happen to Dylan and Sierra and Dolores, like people that were really supportive of Rob, because I don't know, I think it feels like they went to bat for him so hard that are people now going to be suspicious that maybe they're also traitors because they were willing to kind of overlook some of the extremely obvious signs that he was a traitor. Be interesting to see what happens next. I'm just really hoping that Gabby does not leave us next week. I'm so hoping she stays. I love Gabby. I cannot wait to see what happens next week. I just cannot wait. What were your thoughts on this episode? I'd love to hear them. I guess I'll see y'all next week.